Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Today I want to talk to you about 7 biggest finance mistakes new business owners should avoid. And I wish I saw a video like that when I was starting out my business. And I know that if you follow advice in this video, it will help you avoid a lot of pain and stress and a lot of potential losses for your business. And it may even be the difference between making it as a business owner, making it as an entrepreneur, and failing. So number one, finance mistake you need to avoid is insufficient focus on cash flows. So think about it. Think why most businesses go out of business. In most cases, businesses go out of business because they just don't have cash to keep on going. So they have no choice but to close down. The owners of the business have no choice but to go and close the business and potentially find another job or try to start another business. So when you start your business, I want you to focus very much on generating revenue, generating profits, and on watching your cash flow. So what do I mean by that? What is the difference between generating revenue, generating profits, and watching your cash flow? The thing is that, let's say you started a business and you are doing quite well. You have a lot of clients, you're delivering a lot of value, and your accounts receivable, which is the amount of money people owe you, is $100,000. But let's say in your bank account, you only have $100 and the rent is due today. This is what happens when you don't watch your cash flow. This is what happens when you think that you're doing well. You have good revenues, you on paper have good profits, but you don't actually have cash in your bank account. So you don't have money to pay for whatever expenses that you have to pay for and that you cannot delay. Now, with that focus on generating revenue, generating profits, and also making sure that you actually get paid so that you have cash on hand to deal with whatever expenses that come your way. And when I say cash on hand, I really mean cash in your bank account. In our day and age, we don't really have a lot of cash on hand. It's not a very productive way of doing business. So when you start your business, make sure that you are very careful about watching your revenues, watching your profits, trying to drive up your sales, and at the same time making sure that you get paid and making sure that you keep your expenses as low as possible. One thing that is very helpful usually when you start a business, and this is what I would have done if I was starting again from scratch, and this is what Firms Consulting have done, is start from things that difficult to do on a sustainable basis, but you can do at the beginning to make sure your business survives and develops a strong foundation from which to grow. And here I'm talking about coaching. So usually when you coach people one-on-one, you can charge relatively high fees because it is a lot of attention to one person. You're just focusing on getting results for them. So whatever your business is about, whether it is helping people to get into a good MBA school or helping people to look beautiful by helping them, maybe you're a stylist, you're dressing people up, maybe you helping people be healthy. At the beginning of your business, when you really need that money to build your business, it's a good idea generally to do things that are difficult to do on a sustainable basis, but you kind of have to do in the beginning to make sure that you have enough cash. So when we started Firms Consulting, we actually did a lot of coaching. We did a lot of coaching, and that allowed us to generate revenue and profits that we could reinvest back into the business. And reinvesting into your business is very important and something we have done from day one. We are very frugal when it comes to things like spending on air tickets. We would fly coach, for example. Or when it comes to going to a restaurant, we actually purchase usually quite cheap options on the menu because we understand that, yes, it's a balance. You need to live a good life, but at the same time, you want to reinvest back into your business, create value for your clients, and this will help you grow. So When you start your business, a good idea to start doing things that help you generate revenue, generate profits, generate that cash, even though it is hard and it may not be sustainable to do 1 year from now, 5 years from now. We did coaching for many years before we cut it down, and now it is very hard to join our coaching programs because we do not allocate much time to it. So it doesn't mean that if you start with one-on-one coaching, you have to continue doing it. It's a good thing to do. It's an easy thing to do. It does not require you a lot of investment up front. What investment do you need really? You say you offer coaching and make sure that you prepare for your calls, make sure that you can add value and go ahead with it, start making money. And as I said in the video about going from 9 to 5 to becoming an entrepreneur full-time, is make sure that at any point in time you have at least 5 months worth of savings in your bank account that you do not touch. It is untouchable. It is for emergency in case everything goes wrong. That allows you to have 5 months margin of error. So if everything goes wrong, you have 5 months to figure things out. You can use that 5 months to try to get your business back on track, or you can use that time to work on your business and to get another full-time job. You really need that money. The second mistake is overspending and wasting money. So when we spoke about the first mistake, we spoke about watching the revenues side, the profit side, kind of inflow of cash into your business. And when we're talking about the second mistake, we're talking about really carefully watching the outflow of money out of your business. Make sure that every dollar you spend really had to be spent and was spent in the best way. Because again, most businesses go out of business because they run out of cash, especially in the beginning when you're just starting out. This is the most dangerous time for the business. So be extremely careful. First thing is avoid anything that you don't really need. Avoid buying things you don't really need. So let's say you're starting a business and you have a laptop that is kind of 5 years old and you're thinking about, you know what, I'm starting a business. I deserve a new laptop. Think again. You're starting a new business. You don't know how things are going to go, especially if you're quitting your job. Imagine things can go wrong. So be ready for that. If your laptop works fine, keep it. Don't buy a new laptop yet. Get your business on solid ground. Set up a good, solid foundation for your business and then consider buying a new laptop. So as of now, guess how old my laptop is? It is from 2013. I can afford to buy a new laptop if I wanted to, but I think that it is incredibly important to keep reinvesting back into your business. That is why Firms Consulting is able to do big things like what we are doing now, creating a knowledge management system that we will allow some of our select members to get access to. This is a very expensive exercise. This is a management system that we were using, and we're now creating a platform that will allow some selected members to also get access to it. This is very powerful. That will be of incredible value, and it will generate huge returns for those members who will get access. Same with our books. We invest a lot in our books. Why we can do it? Because we do not waste money. We work with old laptops. We do not buy things we do not need. If my laptop works fine, I do not need another laptop. I'm fine with it. I would rather take that few $1,000s and invest in one of our courses. And our courses are very expensive. It costs a few laptops to create one of our courses. Some of our courses are that expensive. So be very smart with money. Don't waste it. As we were building Firms Consulting over the last 10 years, I accumulated a lot of experience of hiring and managing people, and specifically hiring contractors. And I can tell you a couple of things I learned, and I probably will do another video on that because I think this is golden information. But some of the things you need to remember is that when you pay someone $5,000 for a photo shoot and you pay someone $500 for a photo shoot, you're not necessarily going to get a better product with $5,000 photo shoot. If someone is a great professional, they will take pride in their work and they will do a great job. If someone is not a very good professional, you can pay them $10,000 for 1 hour of work of being a photographer on a photo shoot, and they will give you average work because they do not take pride in their work. And they're not going to magically change just because you pay them this huge amount. So when you are working with freelancers, one common question they will ask you is, what is your budget? And no matter what budget you give them, they generally will find a way to charge you that amount. As you're developing yourself as an entrepreneur, as you're accumulating more experience, you will get a sense very quickly of who to hire, who not to hire. Now I make mistakes very rarely, and mistakes I make are usually related to not hiring in normal circumstances. So whenever there is a new circumstance, then I can make a mistake. So one of the hiring mistakes that I have made recently was hiring someone who was referred to me by someone I liked and trusted. And because of that, I took that trust and liking from the person that referred that other person to me and placed it on that person that was referred to me. And that was a huge mistake, because if I just interviewed that person without a referral, I would not have hired this person, because there were red signs that I noticed when I was interviewing. But I went ahead and hired that person because that person was highly recommended. And it was a horrible, horrible experience. One of the biggest mistakes I have ever made. The damage it caused, the stress it caused, it was just completely not worth it. So when you're hiring people, be very careful. The way I do it is, I think, first of all, what is the reasonable amount of time that I should be paying for this service or product? What kind of value will it generate for my business? And then I use that and go with that into negotiations. And if the person tells me something ridiculous, I don't even continue with that negotiation, because I can see that we are not on the same page in terms of the value that their product or service is generating for my business. One of the tips to keep your costs down is to work with freelancers from low-cost countries, but you have to be very careful, because it's very hard to find good people, and you will have to develop some good sense of how to identify someone good. So some of the things that are very helpful is when you interview in a person. So for example, let's say you're hiring someone on Upwork, see if they are friendly, if they are helpful. Delay a little bit the hiring process, because it will allow you to see more of a person and how they behave. And some people become very unpleasant, very unfriendly. For example, if you are taking a few days before you can make a decision, some people become very unfriendly, and then it is obviously no, you're just not going to work with them. So those are some of the helpful things. And of course, look at the reviews. When I look at the reviews, I specifically look at what kind of person it is, not just what kind of professional. Obviously, they need to be able to do the work, but what kind of person it is. If in a review, people mention things like, this person went out of the way to help, there was an issue with my project, and she or he was able to really go out of the way to make things right, I pay close attention to those things, because it means you're working with someone for whom it is you're not just a working wallet, but you're another human being, and they take pride in their work, and they're trying to do good work and trying to be a good human being. And for me, it's very important. And I noticed that whenever I hire people just because I think that they are good professional, but as a person, they are kind of questionable, it's always a bad hire. So I wouldn't recommend that. Mistake number 3 that businesses often do is spreading themselves too thin. When people start an online business or any business, they often start planning to do too many things at the same time, and it is obviously not possible. And we were making this mistake as well, starting out. I remember we were at some point writing multiple books at the same time, and we're doing this and that, and we don't have time to finish any of it. And we have all these projects in the air, all unfinished, none of them generate any revenue. And this is not a good way to do it. So now we are very focused. We select few things, we focus on those few things, we finish them, we move on. And that focused approach helps you a lot. So this year we launched In addition to our normal workload, on top of it, this year, we launched Marketing Saves the World, the new edition. We launched Succeeding as a Management Consultant, the new edition. We launched Mavis, Turquoise Eyes, and the Strategy Journal. And we have one more book that will be coming out this year. So this is a huge additional workload that we were able to manage only because we were very selective what we focus on. We were not working on too many projects, but selecting projects very carefully and getting them until the end result and then moving on to the next thing. And of course, it is very important to diversify your business. It's important to have different streams of income because you never know how things can transpire. So for example, take a business that helps people learn languages. They actually arrange trip for you to go to another country and study there for 2 weeks learning a language. If they didn't diversify into something else along the way, then when pandemic happened, they would go out of business. So it's important to diversify. So for a business like that, it will be a good idea to also offer some kind of online courses and online one-on-one training and things like that. So it's important to diversify. And when you're thinking about diversification, try to think about things that have synergy, that together form a bigger entity than they are separately. The whole needs to be bigger than a sum of its parts. Money mistake number 4 is not being up to date on their taxes. This is a huge one. You cannot make a mistake here. And it's not only about being up to date on your taxes, but also about keeping careful record of all the expenses that you have related to your business, because those expenses can be actually deducted from your revenue so that you do not pay tax on them. And this is something that we were not doing very carefully when we started Firms Consulting. So there were a lot of business expenses that we never actually deducted because we were not keeping all the invoices and receipts and so on that is required as proof that you actually purchased those items to help build your business. So as you are starting your business, firstly, try to understand how all this accounting stuff works. So you at least have basic understanding. Then either do it yourself or get someone to help you, and make sure that first you are up to date on all your taxes. What is helpful for many businesses is to have a separate bank account where you move money that you know you need to pay as tax. So that way you're not going to spend them because you know it's not your money. That is the money that goes to the government. So you are not touching it, and you also will feel more comfortable paying it because it never was a part of your normal bank account. And then carefully monitor all your accounts. Make sure that you are not paying for things that you shouldn't be paying for, and keep receipts for everything you purchase for the business, so that you can deduct it when you calculate your profit and when you need to pay tax on your profit. Mistake number 5 that many businesses make is either they're not keeping a budget or they are not sticking to it. So as a business, you will have a lot of expenses. You need to think through what expenses you have per month, per year. You need to have it all in an Excel document clearly stated, and you need to watch that document to make sure that you are not going over what you plan to spend. And if you are going over, you need to think about, okay, so where I'm getting this money from. So then you need to lower the amount you're going to spend in some other category so that you overall keep good hold of what is going on with your finances. You need to watch your budget, and if you know that you kind of have to spend more than you planned in one category, you need to find another category which you can lower in terms of the amount you can spend there by the same amount. So overall, you have good control of what is going on. And if that is not possible, you need to figure out where the money is coming from. So if you have some savings related to your business, so you're not touching those savings for 5 months, that money you shouldn't touch it, because every time you touch it, you are putting yourself in a bigger and bigger risk. Let it be as if it doesn't exist and you only touch it in case of emergency. But if you have another savings account just for your business in case something like that happens, then you can take money from those savings, but then plan to try to make up for it in the next month or so. But the bottom line is you will be shocked how many people don't actually even have a budget, or if they have a budget, it has nothing to do with what they actually spend. So that is not something that you can afford as an entrepreneur if you have limited resources. And within your budget, you can have budget for specific projects. So for example, let's say you planning to redesign your website. You can have a budget for web design, for web developers, for whatever other things that you may need for hosting and so on, for new domain names that you need to purchase for whatever project you are working on. So make sure that you have everything there, and even plan and even allocate a little more than what you think it will be, so that you know you are safe. You know that in the worst case scenario, you are covered, because even if it's a little bit over, then you are still fine. Mistake number 6 that new business owners often make is buying too much inventory. Fortunately, Firms Consulting doesn't have to hold inventory, which is a huge thing and something we did on purpose, because holding inventory is very, very risky. Anything can happen. The product may no longer be needed. It may go out of style. It may not be as popular anymore. Those things are dangerous. They are risky. So if you have a business without inventory, it's less stress. But if you do have inventory, generally it is a better idea to keep it as low as possible, especially in a situation where the item keep on changing or can go out of style. You don't want to get stuck with inventory that you cannot sell. Business owners lose a lot of money on bad inventory. They get stuck with inventory they cannot use, and they burn it, they give it away, but they lose money. The bottom line is they lose money, and sometimes they even have to pay someone to take the inventory, so they lose even more than what they invested in the inventory. So be careful. Try to keep it as low as possible. Generally, it makes more sense to keep inventory as low as possible, even if you end up paying a little more for smaller quantities. And mistake number 7, and this one is a big one, and it is a big thing for me now, and I don't want to make this mistake ever again, and this is being not careful with payment terms. And that goes both ways. That goes in terms of when you are buying product or service and you have to pay in advance. There are situations that you will never get your product or service that you paid for, and you paid them in advance. And it goes for situations when you are providing product or service to people and they promising to pay you later, and you may never get paid. And that happened to me both ways. So it happened to me when we started Firms Consulting, and we were trying to help our clients as much as we could, and they would tell us, you know what, now it's difficult for me to pay for coaching, but once I get a job, I will pay you everything right away from my first salary. And we would try to help everybody, and we would struggle ourselves financially because we would be working with people but not getting paid with time that we could have been dedicating to actually help clients that can pay. And one thing about Firms Consulting is we had a lot of coaching applications. So we didn't had a problem of finding a client who can pay right away, but we would agree to help somebody who said that they really needed our help. And then what happened over and over and over and over again, we would place somebody, we would actually help them to join a firm like McKinsey and BCG. They would get the job that they were so excited about, dreaming about, would never probably get if they didn't work with us one-on-one, and then they would disappear. And right now we have sickening amount of money that people owe us in situations like that, when we helped somebody, coached them one-on-one, invested our time and effort, and helped them achieve the goal they were trying to achieve, and then they just disappeared afterwards, and they never paid us. And those people often come back and trying to get into our FC Insider membership, and obviously we're not going to allow just anybody into FC Insider membership. We are careful. That's why we have 6 months waiting period, because that allows us to watch out for people who should not be FC Insiders. And when people apply for an annual membership, which allows them, if approved, to skip 6 months waiting period, that again is us evaluating whether we want someone to actually be FC Insider. But the bottom line is, it happened to us a lot. The amount of money that we lost this way is sickening. We could have done so much more for our members and for ourselves if we got paid that amount. So I don't want you to make that mistake. Please be careful. And that happened to me before Firms Consulting as well. It is actually shocking how long it is taking me to learn not to trust people when they tell you a sad story, how they cannot pay you, but they definitely gonna pay you later. And usually people who are asking for exceptions like that are people who have no intention of paying you once they get everything they want from you, in my experience. So when I moved to Africa, I remember I actually was trying to make money because I needed to survive. I only had $1,000 when I moved from Russia to Africa. That was my life savings at that time. And I remember I was working with somebody who told me that they will find me clients and I will give piano lessons. And they gave 10 piano lessons. And the family was very happy. I was teaching their kids. I gave 10 piano lessons, and that person who was supposed to pay me after the family paid them disappeared. And those are just 2 examples. It happens a lot. It happened to my family. It happens to my friends. So just be careful, because unfortunately, what people promise you doesn't mean that they're going to actually do it. So what I do now is I am only interested in fair setup when both people are protected, and specifically my company is protected. And now I only work with people if they actually pay us in advance. Otherwise, we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of free resources, and go ahead, use our free resources, get results, generate some revenue, generate some income if you're working for somebody else. And then you can consider coming to us and asking for our paid products or asking to be in our coaching programs. That is my current view on the situation. And by the way, you also run this risk when you're working with companies. Let's say you purchased furniture for your business and the company goes out of business. So that is another thing that also happened to me. So I think that a good way forward generally is to think about what is the worst thing that can happen, how can I protect myself from it. So for example, if you're buying a lot of furniture, think about, let me buy it from a large company. I know that they're not going to go out of business. The worst case scenario, they're going to be purchased by someone else, or they're going to merge with someone else, but then this other entity will still be responsible for all the obligations. Whereas if business goes out of business, then they're not going to be responsible for anything. So the bottom line is protect yourself. When you're starting your business, you know what? It's better to just go slower and only work in a situation where you are protected, especially if you know that you are a person of your word. If you promise someone, you will go, as my mom said, blood from your nose, you're going to deliver what you promised. Then you only work under those conditions. So for example, if you're building your business and you're starting out as a freelancer to help you build your business, you can work with platforms like Upwork, which will protect you because the client will have to deposit money and Upwork will hold the money while you are delivering the service that you promised. And only once service is delivered, the client will release the milestone, they release the project, and you will get paid. But you're not risking much because Upwork already have the money that you need to get paid for a specific milestone or for a specific project you're working on. And this way, everyone is protected. So right now, I'm searching for situations where everyone is protected and my company is protected. So I hope this video was helpful for you. I really hope that it will help you avoid some very painful, horrible mistakes that I have made, and some very painful and horrible mistakes that took a lot of businesses out of business. I hope that you listen carefully. I hope you took notes. I hope you maybe didn't took notes writing down, but at least noted it in your mind so that you protect yourself as you're starting to build your business. When you're starting out, your business is very small, and so you cannot afford many mistakes. That is why many businesses go out of business during the first few years of operating, because your business is so big yet it is so small. Any mistake and you don't have much to rely on to get back on your feet. As I was preparing for this video, I was thinking, what are the biggest finance mistakes, money mistakes that businesses make that if they could avoid them, they would significantly increase their chances to make it. And those are the 7 that I came up with. So I hope it was very helpful. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like. It supports the channel. And comment below what kind of business you are building or planning to build. I would love to get to know you guys more. And remember to click on the bell if you subscribe. This way you will not miss notifications when I release new videos. Stay focused, stay productive, do good things for the world. And I'm looking forward to see you next time.